Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. It seems that everywhere I look at the moment, I'm told that video is the future. And as a guy that records audio podcasts and writes articles, I guess that means I need to tick the third box and introduce some video content next year in 2020. But what about small to medium-sized businesses and the world's biggest brands? How can they harness a network of global creators to produce video ads across all digital platforms, and most importantly of all, at scale? Well, meet Gerard Keeley. He's the CEO of a company called Vidsy, which is a digital marketing platform that harnesses this network of global creators to produce video ads across all digital platforms for some pretty big brands, including L'Oreal, Ubisoft, Barclays, Adidas, Warner Brothers, and so many more. That list goes on and on. So I invited him on the podcast today to talk about the role of tech in creativity and how companies are bringing creative in-house. Now, Gerard is an incredibly cool guy, and this is a great conversation that I'd love for you to join in on. So hold on tight while I beam your ears all the way to London so we can speak with Gerard now. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Gerard. Can you tell the listeners a little more about who you are and what you do?
Gerard Keeley. I am one of the co-founders and the CEO of Vidsy. Vidsy is a creative technology engine it's really helping power video advertising for some of the world's biggest brands. So L'Oreal, Barclays, Procter & Gamble, Mars, these kind of companies of the world.
Fantastic. And just to get everyone listening on the same page, Can you just tell me a little bit more about Vidsy and how you're actually helping global creators produce video ads across all digital platforms at scale for some of those big brands that you mentioned there?
Yeah, well, that's the big challenge for a lot of big brands nowadays is they have to create video advertising very agile, very quickly for all of the platforms. So Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, TikTok, the list goes on. And what we're really helping them do is produce video advertising for these platforms much more quickly, much more cost effectively, and actually driving better creative and better results for them at the same time. Now, the really cool thing is how we actually do this. So how we do it is basically we have a creative technology platform, and our technology basically streamlines all of the admin, the operations, processes associated with creating video content for all of these digital platforms. And then we combine that with this global community of creators. So we have about 6,000 creators in 70 different countries, a new generation of creators. They understand digital. They've all, the majority of them have been to university, studied motion design, filmmaking, digital advertising. And they're really the creative powerhouse that is producing all of the content through our platform for the brands.
And as this is a tech show, I've got to ask, can you tell me a little bit more about that creative technology engine that actually powers these mobile video ad creation for the world's leading brands too? Because I'm interested in what goes on under the hood too.
Yeah, so it's kind of made up of two different sides. So you have the platform and the infrastructure that's built for brands, and that really helps them, manage all of their workflow. So have a brief, how they actually view content, curate content, select which videos they would like to use, etc. And then we have all the technology and the platform that goes into creators, and that really helps them actually see the briefs. It manages their kind of workflow as well, how they produce the content, upload it back into our system. And it's quite cool, actually, how we're working with creators because, it's quite a challenge to work with thousands of creators all around the world. And how we actually do it is we found out that creativity is much, it's very conversational. You're briefing people, you're asking them to create something. And so we actually built our technology through what we would call like, I guess, conversational platforms. So take Facebook Messenger as an example. We actually have a bot that allows us to communicate with creators all around the world, so they can actually manage all of their workflow. They can manage how they get paid, everything basically through Facebook Messenger. And so it's really intuitive to how they work and how this kind of new, I guess, nomadic creators, freelancers actually like to, to be on the move and be able to create and work where they want and when they want as well.
And one of the reasons I invited you on the podcast today is because I'm passionate about what we can achieve by working alongside technology rather than trying to replace people with it. So can you tell me a little bit more about how you believe tech can actually enhance human creativity, but it can't simply replace it? Yeah,
so it's interesting. Like we have this kind of philosophy or saying at Vidsy that's like tech automates, people create. And so how can you kind of eliminate all of the admin and operations and processes so that actually people can do what they do best, which is create content, tell stories, and really do that in a really innovative way? And so when you kind of look at that, how can you, the two words that don't usually go together are scale and creativity. And so we've looked at, well, how can we actually, build a model that allows us to work with creators around the world, allow us to ensure that brands can get the amount of creative and content they need for all of these different platforms, but still do it in a way where you're getting that kind of great storytelling, ads that are going to really, I guess, engage an audience and are quite authentic. And so that's how we see technology and human creativity kind of coming together. It's really about, how can, as you said, like how does technology really enhance the creative process? A good example would be something like, all creators are doing a bit of research around, what am I going to create? Where do I get my inspiration from? If you can use technology to kind of streamline that process, help them do that much more quicker, or get them, the right inspiration that's going to help hit a brief or an objective, that's really great, because that's just going to mean that the human part of it, the storytelling, the creativity is going to be so much better.
So I'm curious, what's the story behind Vidsy, and what actually shaped this refreshing belief that technology may drive media, but it's humans that is driving creativity?
So look, it all started actually, at a hackathon. I met one of my co-founders at a hackathon, and we started talking about, we saw in the industry that there was all of, video advertising obviously was going to become a big thing. Video advertising was just coming out on Facebook. And then we said, well, who's going to produce all of this kind of creative? Because it's got to be more agile. And our third co-founder came on, and he was actually from that kind of creative world. He was a filmmaker. And he said, well, there's all these amazing creators out there doing amazing content, and they got all the skills, all the technology, but and all the software, but they just don't have any opportunities to get in front of big brands. They don't know how to sell themselves. They don't know what an invoice is. They don't know how to do that business part of it. And so that's when the idea came about, to be like, well, there's this huge creative resource out there in the world, and they're not getting the opportunities. So how do we build technology to actually give them that opportunity and bring it all together, so that brands can get amazing creative and they win, and creators get opportunities and get paid for their work and they win as well. And that's kind of how the basis of how Vidsy started. And by helping both of them sides really grow, it's helped Vidsy grow as a business as well.
And like you said at the beginning of our conversation, you work with some of the biggest brands in the world, and we will have business leaders listening from all over the world and from businesses of all sizes. But I suspect they're all facing similar challenges or struggling to create short form ads. So can you share some of those kind of challenges that your clients are sharing with you, that they're facing, and ultimately how you're helping them too?
Yeah, I think, look, one of the big challenges is definitely agility. And that is kind of transforming your marketing operations, your digital operations, to actually be able to create content quickly, but make sure it's actually really good and is going to work for the platform that you're putting ads onto, like it has best practices, but then also making sure that that creative is going to drive the right objective or the right message for your brand. And so, creating content has always been a challenge for brands. It's now that actually the irony is that there's more opportunity than ever to produce them, to talk to your audience and get out there and get your product out there or your service out there. But you have to be able to create for all of them channels and be able to effectively do that to actually make use of it. And has become actually quite complex. So I think the key is really for brands to understand which platforms is going to work for them, and to test different platforms to understand who their audience is, which platforms actually they should be creating content for. And then also really one of the big mistakes people make is they try to be too complicated when they're creating for digital content. So they try and get, 10 different messages in one piece of creative. And the challenge with digital content is that the reality is when it comes to ads, people are watching 3 seconds or less. So there's no way that you're going to get 12 messages into that 3 seconds. So you have to really understand, what is your core message? Are you being really concise? What is your objective? And ensuring that you're actually driving that in them 3 seconds.
So how is it that a new generation of mobile creators are creating business driving results incredibly fast now? And how are bigger brands adapting to these changes? Are you noticing a real thirst for change in them?
So I think the cool thing about this kind of new generation of creators is they have grown up on digital. So they've grown up on, Facebook and Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, all these kind of platforms. So they understand the nuances of the platforms. They understand the kind of creative that is being created for them. So that puts them in a really good position because they understand that world. But also the kind of software and technology has constantly been updated over the last kind of 5 years, where creators have everything they need in their bedrooms to produce amazing creative. And this is why we're seeing that this new generation of creators actually understands what types of creative to produce to get results. And how we like to work with creators really effectively is our process and our technology, and how we work with these creators almost like pushes them down a hallway and pushes them in the right direction to ensure that they are producing the right type of advertising for a particular brand or brief or objective.
And are there any other conversations that you've been having with clients about technology or creativity that you think would be really valuable for business leaders listening today?
Well, I think, look, a lot of big brands are really understanding, and you can see fundamentally they're all going through this change and digital transformation, and how do they transform their operations to work for what is a quickly evolving digital world. And so one of the key things there is, yes, how do you use technology to help that transformation? But as we were saying before, where do people fit into that equation? And our kind of play on this is that, well, what a lot of brands are doing is they're starting to build in-house agencies. They're starting to transform and bring a lot of this expertise in-house. And it's great to get the brand experts and everybody that you understand in-house and really looking after your brand. But when it comes to execution, it can get very expensive very quickly if you're trying to get all of them executors, the people actually creating the content, actually in-house, because then you're having to foster that talent, build that talent, get new talent, and it can actually become quite, siloed. Whereas the model that we're kind of building is that actually we're saying, well, have your brand experts in-house, and that's going to help you transform, but then put this kind of creative engine backed by technology and creators all around the world so that you can have huge amounts of execution, and all of them ideas that you're building in-house, you can actually execute them quickly and you can get them done all around the world, in record time and very cost effectively as well.
So what does the future of advertising and MarTech look like from what you've been seeing, and what role do you see Vidsy playing in that future?
I think what's happening is a trend is definitely coming back to content and creativity, and creative being it always has been fundamental, super important for the advertising industry. But obviously in the technology world, there's been a lot of emphasis and innovation in ad tech and programmatic and actual advertising. But what we're really seeing now is how technology is really starting to impact that kind of world of creative. And I think it's super exciting, because if you look at it, there is millions of creators all around the world producing amazing creative, amazing content. And if we can build models that allow us, from a brand's perspective, to tap into that creativity, this unlimited creative resource to produce content, that's super exciting. And if we can help these creators actually get them opportunities and get paid for doing what they love to do, that's great as well. So we really see technology fundamentally, positively disrupting the kind of creative and advertising industry to, make some real change that I think is going to benefit everybody.
We've covered so much ground today, but for people listening that just want to find out more information, or even if they've got a few more questions after listening to our conversation, can you just point them in the direction of how they can find you online and also contact your team?
I think the best way is to go check out our website, so vidsy.co, and you can check out what we're actually doing. If you're a creator, you can sign up. If you're a brand, there's lots of places there where you can get in touch with us as well.
Well, as we started, you said that you're helping global creators to produce video ads across all digital platforms and at scale for some huge brands such as L'Oreal, Ubisoft, Barclays, Adidas, Warner Brothers, and so many more. But What really stands out for me is this is a problem that affects every business, every brand. And I think it's a challenge that everyone's rising to now. So a big thank you for coming on and showing that options that businesses have got. So thanks for joining me today.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate it.
I love how Gerard believes that while technology can enhance human creativity, it simply cannot replace it. Besides finding talent, it hasn't been commoditized like media planning and buying has. And brands tend to struggle to create these short-form ads because it's not easy to pack a meaningful narrative into such a short slot. But this new generation of mobile creators, they seem to completely understand this and can create business-driving results fast. And technology may drive media, but it's humans that drive creativity. And I cannot thank enough for Gerard for coming on the show and talking with me today, but also for hammering home that point, that it's humans that drive the creative industry. What a conversation. But if you're in the world of MarTech and you've got a different viewpoint, or you'd like to share your challenges or how you're overcoming them, or the role of technology in your business, simply email me directly, techblogwriter@outlook.com, tweet me at Neil C. Hughes, or pop by my website, techblogwriter.co.uk. As for me, well, my running goal for this year, running 500 miles, didn't really go to plan, just like most people's New Year's resolution, but I'm keen to get back into running, so I've just started the couch potato to 5k run, and I'm picking it up slowly again. So hopefully I'll be getting back to half marathon status in several months, but hey, let me get them 3 miles under my belt first. So I'm going to hit the road now and have a little run. And I'll return tomorrow with another guest. So thanks for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.